morning, everybody. So this week we have a weekly impression die spotlight, and it's all about the little tiny dies. So the shot plates, the small mini dies, and these are just a few of the dies that are up on the site right now. If you want to go check, we're still getting together kind of the last little bits of the demo, getting that prepped. So I wanted to show you a couple of these leaves, flowers. Those little snakes are really, are those not
these
part of
were
it?
up for the 50 states. I forgot. These aren't.
Just kidding.
Yeah, these were up yesterday. I forgot they came down.
And so what Lynette's going to show you today is how to rivet a tiny little stamping onto a stone. And you could do this on river stone, you could do it cabochons, glass,
Wood,
pearls, anything.
all of the above.
Yeah. So let me turn this around. This one's really sweet.
Don't turn it over. Don't show them the back. It's ugly.
Okay. Just a sneak peek. There's rivet.
Yeah,
okay.
I haven't finished the back. It needs some serious sanding.
Ignore, but you can see. And then this one is not set, right?
No, that's
that's just
that's
sitting
our
on there.
demo today.
Oh, cool. We're gonna be doing the seal.
Yeah.
Here are some other examples that she's made.
Yeah.
Turning them into beads.
Yeah, I made these. I brought a couple samples from other artists too. So these earrings, which are really fun. It's not a stamping riveted to a stone. It's just a tube rivet through a stone. And this ring with sometimes they call this stone on stone. It's all the same basic technique. These earrings and this ring were made by an artist named Ashley Akers, who lives in Texas. And then this really cool necklace was made by Victoria Takahashi.
Oh, nice. It's very pretty.
Yeah. Here's another little example with one of our little tiny moons riveted through.
And then a tube.
Oh yeah, and
rivet
then
at the top.
Yeah, for the bail.
Hi Ben, hi Quentin, hi Deborah, hi Patty. Quentin says Potter Tools rock. Thanks.
Thank you.
We think so.
Yep. All right, so today it's actually a pretty simple technique that we're gonna do, so it's not gonna be a super long demo. When you want to drill a hole through stone, you're going to need a specific type of tool to do that. And so what we use for carving stone or drilling a hole through stone or shaping stone are like diamond tools. They're very hard. They're coated in a diamond coating, and there's a variety of different tools that you can purchase with that coating on them. There are files. This is just like a nail file.
Yeah.
But you can purchase whole needle file sets. If you're on good terms with your dental hygienist, this is a whole little thing of diamond bits I got from my dental hygienist. They're single use for them because of sanitation.
Oh, yeah.
So they go through a lot of them. Anyway, what we're really primarily focusing on today is drilling holes. So there's basically two different types of drill bit you would want to use for that. You could either use a twist drill. So these are they're almost exactly like the drills that you typically use for your jewelry work, except they're covered in this diamond coating. And that's going to be strong enough to withstand drilling through the stone. Or you can use what's called a core drill. This is a very large one. But what it does is it has this rim is coated with the diamond material, that top lip. And so it cuts down through the stone But instead of trying to remove this whole diameter, this is like 4 millimeters. Instead of trying to remove 4 millimeters worth of stone, it's cutting out in a circle, but keeping the core. So it's not having to drill through that whole middle section, and it's going to remove a little cylindrical chunk of rock from your piece. So these are better. Core drills are the preferred method.
And you can get them in a variety of sizes.
Yeah.
We just happen to have only the bigger ones right now.
Yeah, we just have a couple. You can buy these from Rio Grande. You can buy them from lapidary suppliers. I don't know. Probably most jewelry suppliers would have them. I know I've purchased them from Rio before. And like I said, in any diameter that you're looking for. If you're riveting, it's important that the size of your hole be the same exact size as the wire that you're using to rivet. So please ignore my disgusting thumb. I sliced it and now it's splitting because I'm a jeweler and it's winter. And this morning I tried to super glue it, but then I got silver dust in it, and now it's like...
And now you've embraced
really cute.
The sparkle.
Yeah, so this is, I think, what is this, 16
or 14? 16.
I think it's 16, yeah. This is 16 gauge sterling silver wire. It's what we're going to use for our rivet. And so I need to make sure that whatever hole I drill in my rock is going to be that same size. I don't want my wire to be sloppy in the hole. I don't want it to be loose. I want it to be tight fitting. So like this, I don't want there to be space around the wire.
Yeah, you can see it's not wobbly. It's a nice snug fit.
Snug fit, that's what you're looking for. So make sure that whatever drill tool you buy, whether it be a core drill or a twist drill, either one will work. The twist drills take longer because they're removing all of the material. The core drills work a little faster. They're a little more efficient. But whatever type you choose, it needs to be the diameter of your wire.
Yep. So same if you were riveting a piece of wood to metal. It's the same principle. You need to have that wire match the hole.
And then we need to work with lubrication. So we're going to work underwater with our stone and our tool. And that's so that we don't generate heat, we don't generate dust. The diamond bits work better and last a lot longer if they're used wet. That's how they're made to be used. So you're going to want to use them with water. And some people will have, you know, if you're into lapidary stuff, you'll have fancier setups than this. I have
a sponge,
a Tupperware I stole from my kids' lunchbox for their peanut butter sandwich, and a sponge and some water. Now we want just enough water that when we put our little stone in here, oops, sorry, Annie, to drill, that we can submerge it just enough so that like the area we're drilling is underwater. We want this to be submerged. We don't ever want this to be submerged.
Right.
So the water should never be deep enough that your handpiece is coming into contact with the water. That's a big
don't want to do that.
Yep, don't do that. So only the tip that's working in the stone should be submerged, not the rest of this. And then you're going to want to wear eye protection.
Leslie says, love the overalls.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even know I was on camera. I'm trying to hide today.
I'm not trying to show you.
And actually, do you mind coming around?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let me move all this junk for you.
So you can drill down.
Yeah, it's actually a lot easier for me if I can do this lower.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so the reason for the sponge is just, you don't need it, but it gives my piece some support. And then I can like control how much it's submerged in the water by how much I press on it. And also, when I break through the back with the drill bit, I'm not gonna pop a hole in my little Tupperware and have water go everywhere. So that's why I like to use the sponge. You could also use like a piece of wood. I just like the sponge because I said like it's flexible.
Control it a little bit more.
You can control how deep it's sitting in the water, which I like. So this drill bit is the same diameter as my 16 gauge wire, and it's a twist drill. I didn't have a core drill in that size, unfortunately. Otherwise, my preference would be a core drill, but this works too. It just takes a little bit longer. And then I am going to press down on this and drill evenly. It's even better if you have one of those drill presses, like those mini drill presses, or like the flex shaft drill press, because then you make sure that you're keeping completely perpendicular.
And you're not,
And if you lean a little bit, your hole, because it's such a thick area that we're drilling through, a little lean in your drill bit is gonna make a bigger difference. So just be careful to try to hold your handpiece completely upright. And then I'm just gonna start really slow. I'm not putting very much pressure. I'm just kind of letting gravity apply the pressure to what I'm doing. And I'm just going to hold it. I'm trying to make it so you can see it. Can you see the debris coming off? I think it's kind of dark, I know. Do you want me to pull out a little? Oops.
Yeah, let's try that.
When you leaned in, I lost my light.
Oh.
It's okay. I don't know if they can see. Can you see the debris coming off? It's kind of milky around the hole. That's debris coming out of the hole. So I'm pushing a little bit, but not a lot. And it's just gonna take a while. You just wanna make sure that it stays submerged in the water.
Can you see that clearly enough? I'm kind of holding the camera in a weird angle, so I have a glare on my screen.
Can you guys see that debris? So we've just got the start of a hole here.
Just a little tiny,
you guys see that? Okay. I'm trying to like not cover everything, but it's so small. See how the water gets like milky around
those little ground up pieces of stone.
If you put a ton of pressure on this, you risk cracking your stone because you're weakening this area where you're drilling. And if you're applying pressure to a weakened area, it can crack. I'm not brave enough to do this on expensive stones.
Why are we using river rock?
And you should pay attention to the hardness of the stone that you're using. And also, some stones have like toxic properties.
Yeah.
So know that about whatever material you're drilling into.
Yeah.
I wouldn't drill anything harder than like a 6 to 7 on the Mohs scale. The sample with the fish over there is chrysoprase, and I think that's like 6.5 to 7 on the Mohs Parker scale. It's pretty, it's on the harder side of things.
Yeah.
And it took a while to
get through it. I'm gonna really invade your space real quick.
You know how much I love that.
I know. That's why I'm giving you a heads up. What did you go through?
No, I'm like precariously.
You set up how you want to, and I will just have
There's just too much junk in my
We'll
drawer.
just be in your bubble.
I don't have a bubble, Annie. I have a fortress.
You do. There's a perimeter. There's a moat.
Did you miss the sandbags? Or the electric fence? So, funny story about that. When I was a kid, we did this like senior night thing for something I was in. I can't remember. When I was in high school. And they asked the parents to like talk about their child and compare their child to like a fruit and why. And all the other parents were like, my kid is like a peach because they're so sweet or whatever. And my dad was like, Lynette's like a prickly pear, which isn't a fruit really. So
But it
she's
has
also
fruit.
kind of like a pineapple. Really, really prickly. Thanks, Dad. He's not wrong though. Okay, so then we can kind of pull it out of the water and like look at our drill bit and gauge how deep we are. So I'm a few millimeters deep. Yeah, I'm getting close to being through. But I'm not rushing it. I'm not pushing really hard. I'm not getting impatient. I'm just letting the tool do the work.
Yeah, you can really see. I think I got a good angle. You can see all of that milkiness, all of those little bits of stone that are being removed from the hole. Looks like a little galaxy from up here.
Hands getting sore.
But we're close.
Yep. Almost there.
The hardness of the stone will definitely affect how long this takes.
Yeah, and this is thick because it's not a cab. It doesn't, it's just a rock from like my driveway. Doesn't have an even thickness.
Ta-da!
So now I'm gonna check, make sure this fits out the back. It's a little tight, so I'm gonna flip the rock from the direction it was, and I'm gonna come in from this side and just clean up the back of that hole. Okay.
Beautiful.
Now it fits.
Beautiful.
I forgot to show you guys. You can get like diamond saw blades for your jeweler's saw. And you can use these. It's kind of a mess because you also need to use them wet. This is just like a slate tile from Home Depot. And I just cut out, the shape of a cab basically just to give you like an idea of how this works. But you have to keep it lubricated with water. And then you can use the files and like the grinding tools to shape the stone if you want. So
all done wet.
This is like a very primitive way or like low tech way of doing all this. If you're into lapidary, there are much better tools.
But if you're just
going to
do it once to try it.
Yeah, if you just want to do small things and you don't want to invest in machines that cost thousands of dollars, like you can do a lot with little tools that are adapted to what you already have. There's little cutting wheels, there's all kinds of things. So
just be sure to use them wet.
Yes, but drilling is super simple, and you can do a lot with your jewelry just with this. So now what we're going to do is I already prepared my little seal stamping. And when you prepare your stampings for doing this, you want to make sure that your stamping is thicker than the die is deep. So see how much material I have above the die? I have like a whole millimeter. And having more is better than having it really thin. This is okay, this is acceptable, but it's not as safe for what we're doing because if you think about, you know, having this little, this is our cutout seal. We're gonna solder a wire to this, feed it through our stone, then we're gonna place it back in this die. So our rock is here. We don't want our rock, as we're hammering to rivet, we don't want our rock connecting with the steel.
Yeah, so you need that
space.
Yeah,
if you have some height here with the thickness of your metal, it's going to make it safer for your stone. And you can use things like craft foam or whatever around to try to cushion this as you rivet it. But I just like to give myself the safety of having this stamping be a little bit thicker.
That's a great tip because that's something that you probably don't think of until you are ready to rivet it. And if your metal is too thin, no, that's a really good tip.
All right, so I already have this one pressed. It's thick enough. I would be more comfortable with it a little thicker, but you know, when they get really chunky, they can also get kind of weird. Like this one's really thick and it sticks up from the stone a lot. So you just kind of have to balance all of those things. I've got my 16 gauge wire here. I just cut a little chunk. It's longer than I need it to. Actually, didn't measure. I think it's longer than I need it to be. Oh, it's actually really close. So with rivets, a general rule of thumb for how long to cut them that I follow is you want sticking out of the hole, you want 1.5 times the thickness of the wire. So say the wire was 1 millimeter wide, I would want 1.5 millimeters sticking up out of each end. Now this isn't a regular rivet where we're riveting both sides. We're only riveting one side. This side is going to have a head soldered on it in the form of this seal. So we don't need to worry about this length. We only need to worry about this length back here. This is long enough, so we can solder this in place. But I would cut yourself excess, like a piece longer than you need for soldering, and then cut it down later.
Right. A lot easier to trim it down to length than to start over.
And then I'm just going to file the end flat so that we get a nice solder join. And we'll go get this soldered.
Afraid to back up. No, you're good. Here's our studio. If you haven't seen it before, we've got our little tortillita press, which we love. I'm working on a video for that right now. Quick form, we've got the older style presses, and then the ring con.
I'm just going to like solder this by hand with like holding the wire and the tweezers and
like an ear wire.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you could set this up. Some people like to use a little ball burr to just grind a little divot in the back of their piece so they know where to position this. Like if you're not good at eyeballing, you could ball burr the little spot before you come over here and then you know the target you're aiming for. You could set it up in a third hand if you want. There's a lot of different options.
Shell's asking, do we know the skew of the seal? It might be on the die.
Let me look. It's a shot plate and it comes with 2 fish. No, I don't have the skew.
Did you hear that? It's a shot plate, comes with 2 fish, but we don't have the skew.
Don't have it on me, but I guarantee you it's under Facebook specials if you go take a look. All right, I'm gonna put a little bit of flux on here. I can't remember which was my end that I filed flat, so now I have to double check. Yep, that's the right end. And then I have some little hard solder already cut up in here. I gotta grab the torch.
Yep. I was hugging the torch stand.
Didn't want to cross any uncomfortable lines. All right, and the way I like to do this is I flow the solder onto the wire first and then just hold it onto the stamping and heat the stamping until the solder flows to both. You can, like I said, there's a lot of different ways to go about getting this done, so do whatever works best for you. Okay, so I'm picking up, I don't know if you can see that,
A little bit.
the little solder pallion. Now I'm going to heat this until the solder flows to the end of the wire. And now I can just focus my heat on the seal until the solder flows
From the wire to the seal. So this is the same way, actually both of us solder posts onto like stud earrings.
Did you see that?
Yep. Saw it flow.
Okay.
Quenching water. Somebody said, how would you rivet an embellishment that didn't come from a die? Like, how would you protect it from being marred as you rivet? My first suggestion would be to do a tube rivet so that you don't necessarily have to hammer on it. You could use like a fairly thin wall tubing and then just flare out the back end, resting the embellishment on, like, it could be anything, like a piece of urethane or cardboard or leather or something.
You can also use like end grain hardwood. Like if you have a little block of hardwood, the end grain, you can carve out a little, like with a ball burr or something, a little depression that will support your embellishment and then rivet over the hardwood. It won't be hard enough to damage your embellishment, but it'll be hard, like firm enough to support it while you rivet.
You could also do maybe some jet set. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great
that
idea.
would work.
Yeah, that's actually genius. Do that. Jet set.
Use jet set or the equivalent.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Ooh, try not to make you too dizzy.
I mentioned I'm not brave enough to do this on expensive stones. Like, would I do this on an opal? I absolutely would not. Would I do it on this pearl? Yeah, it's soft, but it's not expensive.
Right.
So
start with disposable stones.
Start with driveway rocks and get comfortable with the technique before you go crazy. So you can see I've got a nice clean solder join. It looks nice and strong. I don't have a lot of excess around there that I need to worry about. But one thing I do like to do is it does flare a little bit from the juncture from the wire to the seal. Like, what is it called? So I like countersink my hole in my stone just a little bit. So
smart.
I'll take you could use a ball-shaped burr or any of these like
kind
diamond cone. Yeah. Anything. And I'm just gonna use that to I have two rocks. I can't even remember which one I just did. This one. Just to kind of open up the end of that hole a little bit to allow for any fluctuation in thickness. So I'm going to do that real quick.
You can do it down there.
I can do it up here because it's just a tiny bit.
Oh, Diana, that's perfect. A piece of turquoise that already has a chip. Do it.
Perfect. Although turquoise It can be real crumbly, so don't do it if you're like super attached to it. Turquoise is like a stale muffin.
There's lots of
crumbles.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm actually gonna countersink both sides of the hole, so on top and on bottom.
Oh, that's nice. That'll allow the rivet head on the back to be a little more flush with the surface of the stone.
Yeah. You don't need a lot.
Beautiful.
Okay, now there's a lot of different ways you can use this piece depending on your design. I could set this stone in a bezel and then rivet all the way through the bezel like I did on this one.
The fish.
On this piece, I'm just gonna rivet through the stone itself, kind of like this example. And then you could set that whole thing in a bezel and you wouldn't see the rivet on the back.
Yeah.
Or you could, drill another hole to hang it, however you wanna, it's up to you and your design.
Yeah. And your stone. Lynn says, is that a bran muffin or a banana muffin?
Bran. Banana has like the
moistness that holds it together.
Think of the driest, crumbliest,
like some dry coffee cake.
Yeah.
The crumble on top of.
Yeah. I'm just seeing which side this little seal lies flatter on, and that's the side I'm gonna have be front.
Yeah, one other thing I just thought about is if your stone, let's say it is really domed or really uneven, you could form the little accent piece, the stamping, to the shape or the curve of the die ahead of time.
My wire's just a little crooked, so I'm just trying to straighten it out a tiny bit. More than a tiny bit crooked. Can you see how it's like off kilter?
Yep.
Just gonna straighten it out a little. It's a little better. All right, I think we're gonna do it on this side. Okay, so now I can cut the end of my wire. And do you guys remember how much? Oh, I countersunk that way too much on that side. Okay, it's fine.
Just go with it.
Yeah, I countersunk it more than I needed to, so now there's more space around the hole. Like,
it's wet, and so it's not really...
there's a lot more space around the hole than I really wanted, but I was kind of going fast, so it'll be fine. It's just not ideal.
You need less.
Yeah, you want to be conservative with your countersinking. So, do you remember how much length I said sticking out of the hole?
Comment. What did she say? What did Lynette say?
Nobody?
Nobody. Oh, wait, no. Diana, 1.5 times. Woo!
Winner, winner. Okay, so I'm not measuring. You can measure if you need to. I'm eyeballing. And then I'm placing my stamping back in the die so that it's supported fully in every piece of detail if I just went to rivet this on a flat surface, I would flatten
Smoosh
my
it.
stamping and lose a lot of my detail, which would be sad. And you don't want to miss with the hammer and hit your rock, so you do need to be careful. That is one benefit of doing it this way, where you rivet through the back of a bezel, is your hammer's connecting with metal
If you were to
miss and not stone. And then riveting, what we're doing is, it's called upsetting, and we are forging the end of the wire. So here's our wire. We're going to repeatedly hit the top of the wire, and it's going to start to do this thing where it starts to flare out. And this process is called upsetting. And we're going to keep doing that, basically trying to hit in a circle around the top edge of that wire, which is a very small area, to evenly upset that material so that eventually we create a head that kind of comes down.
Like a
That's an
mushroom.
exaggerated version, but it's basically going to look like a mushroom. And then if you've just drilled a straight hole, so here's a piece of metal with a hole in it. If you've just drilled a straight hole and then you put a wire in there and mushroom it out, you have this nice rivet that's going to hold in place. Fine. If you want to knock this material down so there's not such a big head, and you do that, what could happen? If you remove this head now, all you have is a wire and a hole, right? There's nothing keeping it in the hole. So if you want to remove this head and still have your rivet function, to hold things in place, you need to countersink the hole that you drill. So it's shaped like this. And then when you form that head, it fills that countersunk area. You can still remove all of this, but it's left in that countersunk area, and so the rivet still functions as a rivet.
Exactly. And depending on like your level of experience with riveting, you can think of it like in woodworking, where you're putting together a piece of furniture and you screw it together, but you countersink the hole so that the top of the screw doesn't stick out.
And with riveting, anytime your wire starts to like bend to one side, you want to correct it right away.
And she's using the ball end of a chasing hammer.
I am. You could use a riveting hammer or whatever hammer you're comfortable riveting with. My preferred is a chasing hammer.
Liz, how deep is the countersink?
On this one, it's too deep. It literally needs to be almost nothing, like barely there. I went a little too fast with the burr when I did this one.
And when you're hammering the rivet, you do, like she mentioned, want to try and hammer in a circular motion around the entire head of what will become like the head of the rivet. You want to evenly flare the end of that wire.
And I'm kind of leaning, and it's because I have that too big of a countersink. There's extra space that is not ideal.
Are you heating the rivet? No, when we soldered the wire onto the stamping, that annealed the wire. So it's soft and it's about as easy to move as it can be.
I'm pulling it out of this one, and I'm going to rivet it in this one where I didn't countersink, so I don't have to fight. Maybe.
Don't change plans.
No. Just
modifying.
Look at those for a second.
Okay. So this one.
I got it wiggled out.
Okay.
I was like struggling.
You just let me know. So this one, there's probably just a single hole drilled through and then some textured discs with a like stirrup shape. And then a wire is threaded through the hole and a bead is drawn on either side. And so that gives the piece a little bit of motion and secures all the components together. That's really lovely. And then, oh yeah, a small washer on the back could help that over countersinking.
Yeah. I'm just
for now.
I'm just switching rocks.
For the demo, just switch. So this is a piece of tubing. So then you could string this. It's nice, kind of a large hole, so you could string it on a chain. Let's see what we have here. A really good earring, just with a little tube set. These are just like river stone of some sort. And for this type of setting, which is, called stone on stone, you set the stone in this top bezel after riveting. So you would have the bezel cup soldered onto a wire, and then you would mount something in a vise, whether it's like the end of a punch, something with a flat face, and then you would turn your assembly over. Well, I guess this one's tubing. So in this case, the hole in the band has been countersunk so that when it flares out, you can see this is perfectly smooth. There's no tubing extending beyond the surface into where it would connect with the finger. So makes it really comfortable, but because it was countersunk, the rivet still stays in place. And then you would do the same thing on inside the bezel, set everything, and then set the stone.
All right, so I don't know if you can see this. Like, see how nice and tight the wire is in that hole now? I'm gonna show you in that other rock how much too big I got it. See how much slop, like the countersink size is fine, but I went too deep with it.
And so that gives you too much.
There's too much wiggle room. So that's why I'm switching. I just want a tighter fit, but it's okay. Oh, but I want this on the flatter side.
Beautiful. And this is going to make it a lot easier too. It's going to keep that wire from bending over like it did with the larger countersink. So just a really small, like she said, almost nothing when it comes to countersink.
Don't talk and drill at the same time.
Yeah.
Does that look straight?
From here it does.
It's a little tall.
Yeah.
Trim it tiny bit. Thickness of the rocks are different.
If your wire is too long, it will just bend over. So you do want to make sure that you are not using too long, or there's not too much wire extending from beyond the stone.
So kind of hitting in a circle around that top edge, trying to tap down that sort of mushroom head upsetting of the wire. And I'm doing really light taps.
Yeah.
That way if I slip, my whole rock isn't shattered. And I kind of normally place my fingers even closer to where I'm working so that if I slip, I'm more likely to hit myself in the finger than I am to hit my rock. I want you to be able to see what we're doing though, so Trying to leave a little bit of room.
And make sure that your seal or whatever you're riveting is fully supported in the die.
Yeah. So can you see how
Yeah.
that's starting to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really well. You can hear the sound difference.
When you smack the rock, you
Yeah.
can. That's as close as I'm really comfortable getting. Oh, except on that back side. Let me see. I'm gonna flip this around so I can
look
get
at
a
it from both
better
sides.
angle from here.
Very, very light taps.
And then after I get it to where I'm happy with it, I can take a pumice wheel and smooth down the edge. And as long as your stone isn't ridiculously soft, the pumice won't affect the stone. But I wouldn't use ridiculously soft stones for this technique anyways, if it were me. Or if I were you.
This is the Eve pumice wheels. This is medium.
Yeah.
It is my favorite. I try and buy those in bulk.
Do you want to
Oh yeah, I'll hold it.
show them?
Yeah. Okay, so there's the front for the cute little seal. There is the back. Yeah, you want to clean up the edges so that it doesn't catch on clothes or anything like that. But you can see how just kind of upsetting that edge and working in concentric circles makes the head spread more evenly. Yay!
Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
I feel discombobulated today.
Yep. You're not alone.
My brain's not fully functioning.
No, I don't think so.
If you have any questions, drop them in the chat and I will try to answer them.
Yeah.
But make sure you go check out all the little tiny dies we have this week. There's some really sweet ones. Do you have samples?
I have a sample.
Okay.
Okay, so one of them, I did it yesterday. One of them is like the world's tiniest little snake, which I think is super cute.
It is cute. It came in with one of our newest collections from Room Art.
So I cut it in half.
I love this.
Cut it in half and then soldered a probably 14, no, not, well, maybe 14 gauge wire. Yeah. 12. Okay. A 12 gauge wire. Oops, to both pieces of the tiny snake that I cut in half to make a little wrap ring.
It's adorable.
So smart. So that you can make a ring out of anything. Cut your stampings apart.
Yeah.
So there's a little snake. In process, these are some of the teeny tiny little accent pieces. These are great for putting on ear wires if you want to make an ear wire accent. Let me see. I think I have the die name for that one. Oh yeah. Weird fly. I love it. I don't think it's weird, but I love it.
It buzzes around the lid.
Bzzz. That is the fly. It's not me. So that little shot plate with the tiny pieces, that is SP311. Really, they're very tiny. We do have a live on our channel all about working with small embellishments.
Like how to handle them,
Yeah.
how to saw them, how to sand and file them.
Because they are very, very tiny, which can, be a little daunting because none of our fingers are this tiny. But that live shows you lots of tips and tricks on how to use them. So yeah, check out our like littles shop play spotlight that we have going on this week, potterusa.com under Facebook specials, and go pick up some gravel from your driveway. And
I will post a handout for some like tool names and things for what we did today in the group in about an hour.
yeah.
So you can go download the handout from the files section of Potter People, and it will have a lot of this info on it.
Yeah. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.